Hello, my name is Eric Langhorst. You're watching the History Geek Teacher vlog, episode number 8. Today we're going to talk about an activity called Leadership at Jamestown. So we've recently started the new school year, 2016-2017, and one of my goals for this vlog throughout the next school year is to really dive into some of the projects and activities and talk about the nuts and bolts of what we're doing in our classroom. So I thought I would start off today by talking about an activity that I've done for probably about the last 15 years when studying Jamestown. I think Jamestown is one of the most interesting things that we study throughout the school year. There's lots of connections to technology, the way they've discovered a lot of things with archaeology in the past 20 years, and then you have some very interesting people involved with the Jamestown settlement. So this particular activity is going to focus on leadership capabilities and characteristics. So I've used this since 1999. It's from the University of Virginia, and the website's going to be listed in the show notes below. I've kind of modified it over the year, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to break your students into small groups. I typically have about 3 or 4 students per group, and there's a little intro that you read. It talks about how you are essentially one of the people helping the king determine who is going to lead the Jamestown settlement. And then you've got 3 biographies per se of individuals that came to Jamestown. I then give my students a grid. The grid has different characteristics of leadership. One is experience in the new world, another is bravery, another is connections to the court, and then there's just a leadership overall category. So what the students do is they look at those resumes from these 3 individuals and they rate them on that grid according to where they believe they are in that particular characteristic. So they look at the 3 individuals and they rate them according to bravery, for example. They then go through, and at the end, once they have the chart completed, they'll talk about who they think the best person is to lead the Jamestown settlement. And it's always interesting. Typically, I'll get a lot of different varied answers. It's not usually something where everybody in the entire class, all the groups pick the same person. So you've got a little bit of variety there. And one of the categories is connections to the court. And sometimes that is a very important category to some groups, and to other groups it's really not that important. The people that they've provided the resumes for are all people that came to the Jamestown settlement, but of course one of them is John Smith. And so when we get done and we talk about who John Smith actually is, one of the things that usually comes out is John Smith really doesn't have very many connections to the court. And then we begin to talk about, of all the different characteristics, having some kind of connection back to the king is probably not going to help them as much when we're talking about the first couple years of starting the Jamestown settlement. Now, I typically do this assignment before we've done any notes on Jamestown. So really, before they have any introduction to John Smith, before they really know a lot about Jamestown, I typically do this activity. It's a good activity at the start of the year that gets them into an exciting kind of group work type mode. There's a lot of discussions back and forth. You can have some nice side discussions about what is bravery, what is courage, what is leadership. So you get a lot of kind of extra qualities put into a history lesson. And generally my students like it because there's a lot of different ways to debate and talk, and then they do like that there is kind of an actual answer, if that's really the way to put it. But there is one person that's John Smith, and so they do learn a little bit about John Smith then by doing this activity that will then lead them into when we talk about Jamestown in notes and presentations in the future. So there you have it, one example of an activity you can do with your students on Jamestown. All the links that you'll need are in the show notes below. Also on our webpage, www.historygeekteacher.com. I would love to hear how you've used it or how maybe you've modified it in your own classroom. Thanks for watching. If you'd like new episodes of the History Geek Teacher vlog delivered to your mailbox, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. And as always, remember, history is so much more than just a bunch of boring old dead guys. Until next time, thanks.